Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here. We're at NADA 2024, and I am at the ActivEngage booth with Eric. Eric, what's going on, man? How you doing?
You know, fist bumping once again. It's all good. I mean, that's even the other common thread. Like, we get to shake people's hands again this year.
I know, right?
It is a little weird though when everybody's like still sanitizing everything.
I know,
but
it's still out there. It's still out there, man.
Man, think back 4 years ago where we were right now.
Yes, a lot has changed. And that's why I'm so glad I get a chance to come over here, hang with you. All right. I've always been a big fan of ActivEngage. I mean, I was an early adopter with live chat. I was just when it first came out, I mean, I thought it was the golden ticket, dude. I was just like, yes, my team's going to have this really meaningful conversation. And then they're going to come in and it's going to be, instead of a 4-hour process, it's going to be a 1-hour process, and it's just, yeah. It's been a decade. I'm still waiting. Still waiting. But hey, we're getting closer. We're closer. Maybe, we were talking a little bit before we started recording, guys, about the Great Reset. We're going to get into that. All right. But let's get into this. What's new with ActivEngage?
Well, first off, I mean, this is, believe it or not, as a 17-year-old company, this is the first time that we've ever exhibited at NADA. And what's
is it really?
Oh my gosh. It's the same exact reaction that I'm getting every place else. Is the fact that everyone's like, no, you guys were there last year. In fact, I remember seeing you. I was in your booth. I'm like, no, you weren't. No, you were there. I know you were. Like, no. So unfortunately, we're paying our dues a little bit. We're over in the North Hall. We're like in a little corner. But it's been an incredible show so far. Like we started talking about right before the show as well. I mean, just the reset that we've seen. Mm-hmm. For us, there's so much new and so much that hasn't changed. Yes. And a lot of that is the fact that we still very much believe in the fact that people buy cars from people buy cars from people they like.
Yes.
And, so we really still believe in the aspect of real humans having those conversations with the customers and not simply sitting there going, oh, well, we can do this with, AI or something else. It has a place.
Of course.
It absolutely has a place. And we're absolutely sitting here and innovating with it and using it to be able to do certain things on the backside, but not necessarily going to be that consumer-facing side of things.
Well, to enhance the person, right? Look, for many, many decades, we have talked about how our industry is a people business, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
I've seen some of your guys' competitors decide to kind of go a very different a different route and try to remove the person out of that communication. And look, I'm always going to buy a car from a person. Right. I ain't buying one from a robot.
Right. And that's it. And it is the purchase of a vehicle in this country. It's the single largest purchase that we as Americans happen to make. Mm. There's more emotion that's involved with it than any other purchase. Buying a house, believe it or not, it has more logic. You're like, how many bedrooms does it have? Is it in the right school district? Is it going to, do this? What are the taxes? And like your car, think when I learned to sell cars as an example, same with you. One of the very first things I learned was walk those customers past as many vehicles as you possibly can. To take them to that silver LX Accord that they think they're interested in.
Yes.
Why? Because you're going to pass the red EXV6 Accord and they're going to be like, dude, Jason, that one. That's the one. That's me.
We must have worked at the same dealership.
Right. So, but for us as well, I mean, we're always striving to figure out better ways to create communications, to really be able to enhance how the consumer themselves has the ability to communicate with the customer.
Yes.
So our big thing, right now, and during the show that we've announced, we've released is one, we just released a brand new app, which is something that's new and different from us, to allow the dealer to be able to engage in those conversations where they want to. Like we've talked about as well in the past, it's still the aspect that chat conversations are at the hardest to have. Yep. This is the easiest, obviously. You can hear, tonal body language. You can understand what the customer's thinking. But when you're sitting there trying to type, not as easy.
Yes.
And so... But we do have this app now that's going to allow the dealer, if they want to get into that process, to be able to sit there and to communicate. Our big announcement that we're basically announcing at the show is what we call flip to text.
Yes, I heard about this. This is really cool.
This is, to me, it is so unbelievably cool. And in many ways, the fact that it hasn't necessarily been, embraced and figured out yet because other big companies are already doing this. But imagine you call the dealership, right? 23% of phone calls that go into a dealership, this is crazy, go unanswered.
No, trust me. As a dealer principal, it was one of the biggest things I had to deal with.
Right.
Because it's volume. It's just like I can't increase my volume of people just because those 2 or 1.5 hours
That's
a day
exactly
where
it.
the volume's going through the roof.
Right. And so, flip the text now gives you the option as a consumer that as soon as you hit the dealership's, phone system, the IVR, hey, press 2 if you'd like to have this conversation convert into a texting conversation.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now, here you are, you're able to have that conversation with our dedicated staff that are automotive specific. They're all here in North
100%.
America, and they can do things such as schedule their service appointment. They can find out about a car. They can find out the status of their car without having to do anything or add any people or any technology at the dealership level of things.
Well, and I think the coolest part of it is that communication experience doesn't end online when I turn my desktop off.
No.
Right? I mean, I think that's one of the coolest parts. So it's like I start that conversation, and maybe I get my answer.
Right.
But 3 hours later, oh crap, I forgot to ask this.
That's exactly
How
it.
insanely easy for me just to go back to that and just say, oh, by the way, can you guys do this, this, and this?
Right. And there's a curiosity question that I have, just knowing that, for instance, millennials would much rather communicate via text messaging and other contextual formats versus, a telephone conversation. So I can't even imagine right now how many millennials are sitting there and texting a dealership's, localized telephone number, and they don't ever get an answer. And the millennials sitting there going like, "Well, I don't understand.
What?
Like, I just
There's a
texted
number
the
there.
phone number. Why can't I text it?"
Yes. Well, no, I even find it for myself though.
Yeah.
It's just like, I get to work. It is literally start at 7, go through 5, right?
Yep.
I mean, like, what's funny? I'm actually trying to think, when was the last time I actually answered my phone? No, seriously though, because it's like, anytime anybody calls, it's the most inconvenient time humanly possible, right? So it's like, if they send me a text, then it's like, okay, I can respond to it quickly. I can send an audio recording. If I got to, I'll send a video. It's just
right.
Like I think the coolest thing that you guys done is that you met the customer where the customer wants to be met.
That's exactly it. And this is one of the things that, listen, as growing up in dealerships and everything else, it's one of the things that we as dealers have always tried to do was we've always tried to tell the customer how it is that they need to communicate with us versus being there and allowing the consumer the way in which it is that they want to communicate with us. And the more consumer-centric we can be, the more consumer-facing, the better the experience, the better the overall aspect of that customer and how they're going to be able to sit there and do this, and they're going to be more likely to transact with you, to do business with you, and refer business to you as well.
Well, it's because I feel like I now have that more immediate connection.
That's it.
Like, because the thing I'm also thinking is just the overall experience this brings, right?
Right.
We've been talking about the customer experience for, I don't know, probably as long as we've ever been in the business, and I'm sure people were talking about it for even before then, right? But here's the thing I find super interesting about experience. It's never one big thing.
No.
Because if it is, we'll fix it. Right? If there's a leaky roof somewhere and it smells weird, we're going to fix that, right? But, when you really look at the customers, you look at the comments and reviews they put back there, it's the little things.
Always been the little things.
It's always the little things. And so I love this idea because as a customer, I'm just like, I feel like I don't have to go through 3 or 4 hoops to talk to someone at my dealership. It's like I can just go back.
Right.
They're there. Like, there's
there.
an immediate connection.
Yeah, and that's the other great part is that the one biggest problem that, for instance, dealers don't think of or recognize, first off, 45% of the phone calls that are coming into the dealership are initiated off of their website.
Yep, totally makes sense.
Now, does the website ever close?
No.
But your dealership does.
Yes.
And the other thing that we've also experienced is that through COVID and through everything that's taking place, most dealerships that I know have shortened their hours as well. They're no longer open 9 to 9 Monday through Friday for sales. Yeah. Many of them are now closing at 7 o'clock every single night. And so they're not as present as well. So now 100%. We're really trying to make these different connections even when the dealers themselves aren't available, but we are.
Well, look, it's kind of like a all calls get answered no matter what, kind of a scenario, right? And I love this, right? I mean, I was always fascinated as a dealer myself, just when I'd get in the morning and how 37 voicemails, like who's calling the dealership at 2 a.m. in the morning? Like, what do you people do? But you know what though? I think this is a beautiful opportunity. Like, I don't think anybody expects to get a reply back at 2 a.m. in the morning, but at least what it is like I got my thought out. I asked my question, right? And, when business kicks back in and someone can respond to it, how wonderful and awesome is that?
That's exactly it. And it's just for that aspect of things. We see a continuous transition of allowing customers to be, like I said earlier, communicate the way they want to communicate and allow the dealer to be able to then have all of that information. The other great part about flip to text is now you have the ability to look at all this data because the entire conversation is now contextual.
Yes.
So now that entire conversation, because we have the phone number and we're going to send it as a lead into the CRM, so it all resides there now. And so for every time the customer's now engaging, in this particular way, now you, the dealer, have all this data as well. And you can start to see those nuances that we were already talking about, like that little thing. Why was the coffee 2 hours old? I mean, at least it's 2 hours old.
Oh, like 2 hours.
It's like, remember the old pots with the Sanka in it? Like
the day-old pot? That was
right.
Like, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it gives a customer also the ability to be a little bit more free in regards to what it is that they're saying, because they might say things, and they do,
of course,
in a contextual format that they wouldn't necessarily say to someone.
No, and that's what I think I love about text messages, right? Is that you don't have to really go deep into it. People, I find they're very direct responses. But then the other thing I was listening as we kind of talking about this, let's talk a little bit about compliancy. All right, because maybe again, this is me putting my dealer principal hat on, and then I'm listening to you, and I'm like, wait a second here. Byproduct of this is going to be a substantially larger amount of compliant text numbers in my CRM, which is the holy grail, all right, of communication. Yeah, that is cool.
And it is. And, we figured out pretty much before anybody else, because like, for instance, when the FTC was launching the whole, A to P 10 DLC registration of text-enabled phone numbers and having to do campaigns and everything, they had an initial rollout that was supposed to take place a year before they did it. Well, we went through the steps to become compliant a year in advance. We didn't know that. We found it out later on that we didn't have to have it done in that amount of time. But yeah, it's getting those opt-ins. It's when that customer takes that action and they're actually pressing that number to engage into a conversation that they are giving up.
Yes.
That right and that freedom, and now the dealer has the ability, hopefully they don't abuse it, but they do now have the ability to be able to sit there and to use that from a marketing side of things, from a sales side, service side of things, being able to talk about whatever it is that they want. Again, hopefully they don't abuse it and start getting unsubscribes.
Of course.
But yeah, we're going to be able to help the dealership really clean up their database as well and have so much better ways to communicate.
That is so huge. Eric, I know it's the tail end of our time. Hey, everyone out there watching, listening right now, if you're looking to increase and enhance your first impression, all right, make sure that you're compliant and really bring an amazing experience. You guys have to check this out. ActivEngage. Eric, man, thank you so much, dude.
Jason, you too. Thank you.
That was a lot of fun. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks, guys.